All right, let's dive into something I'm pretty sure almost all of us have been through: social overthinking. Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of why our brains just can't seem to let go of those small, everyday conversations.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever gotten stuck on a conversation you had, and I mean really stuck, just replaying it over and over in your head long after it was actually over?
Maybe it's a specific sentence you said.
Or a particular tone you use that now just makes you cringe? Or maybe even just a simple pause that in your memory felt way too long, just a little awkward. You know? These tiny little moments can just live rent-free in our heads for hours, sometimes even days.
But what if I told you that according to psychology, this isn't just you overreacting? Turns out it's a very specific and surprisingly common mental pattern.
Okay, so let's get into this because this is a really crucial shift in how we think about this. We're so often told that overthinking a conversation means we're insecure or socially awkward, but what psychology suggests is that the opposite is often true. It's not a sign of weakness, but actually a sign of heightened awareness, of a mind that's highly perceptive and just incredibly careful about its impact on other people.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates that point. For people like this, their brain doesn't just hear conversations, it records them. It's like having this high-definition social recording running in the background all the time.
So, what exactly is that recording capturing? Well, it's scanning for so much more than just the words being said. It's analyzing every little micro-expression, tiny shifts in tone, the length of pauses, and all the subtle emotional undercurrents. This isn't just background noise, it's a massive stream of social data that the brain is trying to process to make sure everything goes smoothly.
And this brings us to the first major psychological trait behind this whole pattern, something called high social sensitivity.
This sensitivity, it creates this incredibly powerful internal monologue. The mind just gets flooded with questions after an interaction. Did I come across the wrong way? Did that sound rude? Did I totally miss something important? This isn't just random worrying. It's your mind actively trying to deconstruct all that social data it just soaked up.
And get this isn't some kind of random flaw in your personality. From a psychological perspective, this trait actually evolved as a really powerful form of protection. It's a deeply ingrained mechanism designed to help us avoid conflict, rejection, or misunderstanding with the people around us. It's a survival instinct, really, just adapted for our modern world.
Okay, so this brings us to our next trait, which builds right on top of that sensitivity. It's all about having a strong internal dialogue. So instead of reacting externally, right there in the moment, these individuals tend to process everything inward, turning the conversation over and over in their minds.
And here's the crucial point, the why behind it all. They're replaying these situations, but not as a form of self-torture. They're doing it in an effort to truly understand them. It's a genuine search for clarity and meaning.
This whole process actually has a name in psychology. It's called anticipatory thinking. It's basically the brain's attempt to prevent future discomfort by revisiting the past. And it makes sense, right? If you learned early on that saying the wrong thing led to painful consequences, your brain adapted. It became a master strategist, constantly analyzing past moves to prepare for future ones.
Now, that deep desire to understand how an interaction was perceived leads us directly to our third trait, and it's one that's often completely overlooked. It's something called empathy overload.
See, people who do this often care so deeply about how other people feel that their mind is constantly trying to imagine how their words landed emotionally. But the thing is, empathy without clear boundaries can very quickly turn into total mental exhaustion. Okay, now if you take only one thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this. This right here is the game changer. Most people are far more focused on themselves than on analyzing you. Your brain might be magnifying some tiny moment that honestly the other person has already completely forgotten about. Just let that sink in for a sec. So what's the mental shift that can help quiet all this noise? It's really a simple two-step process. First, you just acknowledge that very real need to understand the interaction. That's just your perceptive brain doing its job. But the second, and honestly the most important step, is to release the need to self-punish for it. Understanding is useful. Self-criticism, not so much. So let's be perfectly clear about this. If any of this sounds like you are not broken. You are not socially weak, and you are definitely not too much. The truth is, your mind is simply trying to protect you. It's a highly tuned, caring, and perceptive system that sometimes, well, it just works a little too hard, even when it doesn't really need to. Which leaves us with this one final thought. What if simply becoming aware of this pattern, understanding that it comes from a place of care and protection, what if that's the very first step to quieting the noise? What if awareness is actually the beginning of peace?